Okay guys, working on a 2009 Volkswagen Passat with a 2-liter turbo. Customer complaint is a check engine light. No drivability concerns. So let me take you to the scan tool. I'm going to go to scanner. And this one we're going to go in expert mode. I just want to let you guys know, expert mode is very similar to what a VADCOM is going to be. You know, a couple of you were asking if I have a VADCOM or not. But this is going to be very similar. So we're going to go to engine management. Check Dtc Memory. And what we have is a P119a fuel pressure sensor G247 malfunction. I have to tell you that any time that I have ever seen this fault, it has been because of a lean condition and has nothing to do with the fuel pressure sensor. So right now what I'm going to do is go straight to my fuel trims. So what we're going to do is go to read measure values block. And my fuel trim Alright, 32. Measure value block 32 is my learned values. This 3.1 right here would be at idle, so this would be a long-term fuel trim at idle. And this other lambda would be our long-term fuel trim under partial load. And then all you got to do is hit the plus. It's going to take us up to 33, and this right here is our short term, and then there's our O2 voltage. So I'm just going to start the car up and we'll take a look at these fuel trims. Just wanted to make note, as we let this thing warm up and go into closed loop, these numbers are a little bit on the positive side, not too far out of range. Actually, they're not even out of range. I would be really concerned if a number was maybe 5, outside of 5. But just wanted to make a note of that. So here we are. This is our measure value block 33, which is our short-term fuel trim. And you can see this number. A little bit on the positive side. So what this says is the computer is adding fuel. This would be a rich command to probably compensate for a lean condition, which is the condition that I've only seen with this P119a. Just going to change the idle a little bit. Take it up to 2,000 RPM. And you can see our numbers are improving, or our short-term number is improving. Not much better. Go back to idle. So before I go chasing for leaks, I guess, probably want to make sure that our O2 is functioning correctly. So what I could do is pull this dipstick and give it a big air leak. And you can see my fuel trim goes super positive. That tells us that this oxygen sensor is picking up this air, and in turn, ECM sending out a rich command. So it's pretty common on these to have an internal leak through these breathers. I don't hear any vacuum leaks. But what I do have is this little crafty fitting that I made to plug the intakes. And basically, if we have an internal air leak, we're going to pinch it off right here and eliminate it, so our intake is not going to be seeing any of the PCV gases. So I'm going to try to do this while it's running and watch the fuel trim. See if I can get you focused on that. Alright, so before I pinch this off, I'm going to take my vacuum gauge and hook it up to the dipstick and see if we have any vacuum in this crankcase. Should probably do that first. Very small amount of vacuum in this crankcase. I'm looking at this gauge in here. Maybe about 1 inch of vacuum. I was expecting to see more. One thing I noticed is at first I thought I didn't hear an air leak. And this is pretty much a good indication that this breather has failed. And watch what happens. See on my gauge here. When I plug this hole, it pulls that vacuum on the crankcase. Take over to my fuel trim. Alright, so I have my breather pinched off. My PCV. It's not pulling on the crankcase anymore, so I'm not going to have any vacuum, even though there wasn't much. It's just a little homemade tool, basically off an old hose, an old breather hose. So with the breather disconnected, eliminated out of the system, you can see my fuel trim countering the positive command that was on the short term right here. And that number's slowly going to drop. This is our short term at idle. I'm sorry, long term at idle. This is our short term. Still negative. Go back to 33. 32, sorry. And this 2.7 should come down to adapt once it relearns As long as this number is negative, it is still going to correct. I do have the breather hooked back up. It's not going positive like I expected it to. But then again, I believe it's just a diaphragm in there, and you know, I'm changing the airflow across it, and it could just be possibly sealing right now. My main focus is really to watch out for this P119 fault, fuel pressure sensor G247 malfunction. Not sure why that comes up, but honestly, it's a lean fault. It's the only time I've ever seen it is when there's a lean condition. There's our number jumping back up. Okay, one more thing to leave you with on this is that when you have these breather problems and it pulls that excessive vacuum on the crankcase, it has a tendency to pull in seals, and then when you replace this breather, you have these oil leaks, or possibly you still have this lean condition. And I've seen this before. You replace the breather and then you have an oil leak through the bell housing, and what happens is it's pulling on that rear main seal, and it pulls the seal in. So then you really have unmetered air coming in through the rear main seal also. So you replace the breather, and then you still have this lean condition, and now you also have an oil leak. It's not the case on this one. The rear main looks pretty dry. See if I can get a shot of that. Looks pretty dry. There's a little bit of wetness behind it. Pretty dry, but there's a small hole right there that usually it will literally just be puking out of there after you put this breather on, and you'll still have a lean condition. Well guys, this car needs a breather. Not a big deal. But my main focus, you know, just showing you how to use these fuel trims again. And that P119a fault, fuel pressure sensor malfunction. It's a lean condition fault. Does not mean there's an issue with the rail pressure sensor. So I hope you guys enjoy. And thanks for watching. Alright guys, so I did replace the breather. The car is fixed. And I was just curious as to what the internals of this thing look like. So, I mean, I had to break it kind of to get it apart, but see, there's a little diaphragm right here. And on this side of it, there's that hole. There's a fresh air supply, I guess maybe to allow movement for the diaphragm. But right here, you can see there are little tears. And that's why when I was plugging up this hole, it would then pull the vacuum on the crankcase. There's also a little spring here. but it's confirmed fix. You can really see those now. So, another torn PCV breather causing a lean condition, and in this case causing a P119a fault, which is a fuel pressure sensor malfunction. Very misleading. Not sure why it does that, but confirmed fix. So hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for watching.